Here we are. We're live.
Welcome back to World's Strongest Opinions, episode 59 with Brandon Burley, a man who's been really close to some podiums and big shows the last year, taking fourth at Worlds, which is phenomenal. Fourth at Americas. You're going to hit the podium this year, Brandon?
It was my goal to hit third this year at OSG, and I came so close. And Jeff had to just knock me off at the last second. So, talking with Laws, and he said I shouldn't just shoot just for a podium. I should shoot for the top. So that's what we're doing.
I mean, number 4 in a world competition is no joke, especially at OSG. The best of the best from the world show up there. I mean, that's a phenomenal placing in that field of athletes.
Yeah, and that's kind of where it had to come back to. Like, I was heartbroken afterwards, but then when you step back and you look at it and you're like, that's 2 years in a row I made top 10. That's my 7th show total. Like, I need to have some perspective and just be happy I made it and put in the work this year and see what I can do.
I mean, your time's coming, man. I actually just saw your 875-pound deadlift, which is not very long ago, only like 2 or 3 years ago. That would have been a world record for the U105. So you're not too far.
That was OSG prep when I did that. That wasn't even a max day. I was programmed this hop set, told the plate hop all the way up, got to 875, felt good. I was like, I could probably do more, but he said plate hop. I don't think I can do 960.
Well, I mean, you couldn't have plate hop too much if you went to, because 9 plates is 855?
200-pound plate.
Oh, you're okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
I didn't look at the plates that close.
Yeah, we started with 100-pound plates and then then plate hop from there.
Nice. That's
so
still
crazy.
Impressive, though, man. I mean, so. Your time's coming. There's no doubt about it. Everybody, if you look back at every world champion, they creep up on the podium. They take third, second a few times, with some rare exceptions. I mean, even Dan Hughes. I mean, he had a couple close calls right before he took it all. So
Dan Cinderella'd it for a few years. He was just always right there.
Yeah, right.
I will say that you did win last year's Bazooka Challenge around this time.
Well, there's that, yeah.
So there was, you submitted it 5 minutes before the cutoff time. You just beat everyone, like clearly.
Wildly off program, like right before Clash.
I remember because everyone was like racing to 300 pounds, and then you just like hit it because everyone was just submitting videos all day. And I was like, I guess I should have told people there's like a certain limit on how many attempts you could send me.
I think I saw it and I was doing log that day anyways. And I was like, well, I got this on. I'll give it a go.
That's true. Because you were competing with some real strong people out there. Yeah. Like Deadliest Lift posted his 275.
Yeah,
and everything. It was a good time. I didn't allow grip shirts, but the grip shirts were the prize, so you got a nice chaos grip shirt out of it. Luke was like, "Why do you guys always shit on grip shirts?" I was like, "We won't allow it, but we'll award you one."
It's like in USS. Are grip shirts allowed? Yes, under your regular T-shirt, under the competition shirt. So in other words, no.
Yeah,
not allowed.
So there was that. I was like. And that's coming around again this year. I try to step up the game of like, see what people can do. But that was nice that you did that for us.
You're going to have to come up with something new and creative, though. Like,
I know. That's the hard thing.
Just not searchers.
Oh, because I forgot that's the one ding right there is this man hates searchers.
Oh,
like has a specific vendetta against them.
Yeah.
So that's why it took so long for him to be on the show. He had to
even more reason to do them. Even more reason to do searchers.
When we were doing Clash prep last year, like we were all in the group chat, and I was like, "How many elbow sleeves is too many? Like, is 6 over the line?"
Have you ever tried to wear double elbow sleeves before?
I have not. No,
I can't clean a log. I don't know how.
Novikov.
how he freaking did that, man.
Yeah.
I tried double sleeving one time, couldn't clean a log to save my life.
Yeah, no. The only time I've really done Zerchers was just for that clash, and it was a part of another deadlift medley. So you're not going to run around the whole medley with elbow sleeves on. So
right,
just bitched about it the whole time.
I will say that group chat came up with the greatest thing is because you were complaining about then you had to do Conan's wheel, and you were like, this is basically just like a Zercher just going around in a circle, which I came up with the great phrase, the circle Zerch is what we should call Conan's wheel.
Yeah.
I was like, that was a good time.
Anything in that front carry position just does not sit well with me. Like at ASM, that Conan's wheel, I passed out. Like I don't like it.
Yeah, it's intense though.
Yeah.
It's like just that pressure. And Conan's wheel in general
really
just,
like strongman events. I was just talking with Kim Scott about this. Like, she was talking about like what event she was doing at I can't think of the name. Bricktown.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, she turned to somebody. She's like, "This is stupid." And I was like, "All strongman events are stupid, yet we keep doing them." What does that say about us?
Most of them, I like the challenge. I just don't.
Yeah.
Conan's wheel and Zerchers, I just don't like. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bitch. Like, I don't.
I'm not a particularly big fan of Conan's either. I can do front carries pretty well. Like if I do like a Zercher like yoke carry, like I'm fine. But as soon as I have to go in a circle, like I cannot. I don't know. It just is so unnatural to me, like that pattern.
Yeah, I trained all of it on like a yoke and training it that way. And like he was talking with Camby before Americas, and he's like, "Well, how are you gonna doing this?" I'm like, "I'm gonna pass out. Like it's just I'm gonna go, and then I'm gonna lose consciousness, and somebody's gonna pick me up off the floor, and you're gonna tell me how far I went. Like that's how this is gonna go."
Because it does. It just like crushes the wind out of you. It's just like hard to like keep any kind of good brace, and it's just like a very awkward, weird pressure.
Yeah,
and everything. I was gonna say, I was like, Conan's wheel kind of has like. I can't ever tell which would be worse, Conan's wheel or the Wheel of Pain that Rogue does, that big awful event that's like still the circle movement, but you're just pressing into it. I was like, that seems just as miserable in a way.
So I really want to do a Hercules hold, and I saw Bricktown had a Hercules hold, and it's only like 4 hours down the road. I was like, I'm feeling pretty good. I might sign up. And then I saw the Conan's wheel, and I'm like, I'm not feeling that
good. Oh man, it did look like a fun show though. Shout out Kim for stepping up to the pro class instead of the 73s, or I guess I don't know, it was USS rules, so I forget the weight classes.
They had like a pro sub 220 men's and a pro open men's, and then a pro open women, and I don't remember what the weight was for the women, for the lightweight.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out because I know theirs is usually like, I forget what their cutoff is, like 165 or something.
Yeah.
There's like 180 something. But Bricktown, the crazy thing is that CJ and I were just talking about is the fact that they paid the prize money while you're on the podium. So he got $500 for competing at like a local show, which is that's pretty decent. And I guess there is a pro thing on the line that they're like actually pretty serious about that, like getting pro cards with payments that come with them. Yeah. Which is a step in the right direction, I think, in general. I was like, paying people right at the podium, or like, I guess Chaos, they just Venmo'd people right away, or like Venmo or PayPal. So I'm like, that's always nice to like have money in hand, so you like feel that rather than this like big fancy check you can't cash anywhere, or like money's going to come at some point.
I like the big fancy check.
It could be $20, but if I could get one of them comically large checks.
Those are amazing. I have one of those in my basement. That's my favorite like trophy. I mean, it would suck if you like traveled to the UK to do one of the shows and like he sent you back with this what would you do with it? I mean, I guess
that's what I was thinking about. What was her name? She did OSG twice this year.
Miss Myler, Claire Myler.
Yeah, and she podiumed both, and the whole time I'm going, you have to carry both of those back on your flight across overseas.
Yeah.
Dude, her performance was wild. To watch someone compete in 2 different classes and still
and she got better.
yeah.
Like she did the lighter, and then she'd go to the heavier, and like, how did you get faster? Like the weight got more.
Yeah, I was like, because those events were tough. I was like,
maybe it was a matter of that she had to. I mean, yeah,
it's true. The stakes are high.
Stakes are high, especially when you're doing 2 weight classes, doing every event twice.
I can't even imagine. Like, I felt pretty good after OSG this year. Like, I wasn't like, well, physically I felt good. Mentally, I was upset, but like, I couldn't imagine doing it twice. And last year, I don't think the next day I moved much. Like, I was not ready for the level that OSG was last year, because that was my 4th show last year at OSG, and I was not remotely prepared.
So you said you're like at 7 shows total. When did you start then, based off that timeline?
So it would have been 2 years ago. I was really bored. Like, I was just training in my garage, just doing stuff on my own. Like, didn't live with anybody, didn't do anything any particular reason. I was bored, and I was like, I need to look for something to do. And I looked into powerlifting, and I'm like, no, that's not it. And then I was like, I think there's a Highland Games around here. Let me check the internet. And somehow I ended up on Iron Podium and signed up for this. I signed up novice class for this one over in Dubuque. Same guy that runs Bricktown, Ken. And when I got there, like I think I signed up like 3 weeks beforehand. Like, I didn't know what a log was. There was a log press there. Like, as we're standing in line, like, I'm talking with people, and they were like, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never touched this before. And they're like, no. Like, what are you?
You're an actual novice.
Yeah. Like, we are about, as we're walking up, like, this is going to be the first time. And like, that's one of the reasons I love Strongman so much. Like, they pulled me aside. They yanked out a log. Like, there's only like 3 logs to warm up one. They yanked one, dedicated it to me. They're like, we're going to teach you how to clean this thing. And like, that's, during warm-ups, they're showing me log for the first time. We go up, we do the event, and it was like clean and press away. So I only had to clean it once. So it wasn't too bad. And I won that event, and they're like, what do you mean? Like, you told us you didn't know anything. I'm like a press. Like, I just didn't know what to do. Like, the rest of the day, like, they were sitting there. They're like, well, hey, have you ever done a silver dollar deadlift before? Nope. All right, let's come on over here. Let's show you. Like, they did it for every event. It was great. Like,
nice.
I was like, that makes sense, rather than like Darren always talks about, if you're dedicating an actual training block towards the show, you shouldn't do novice. Like,
yeah,
especially if you're
novice is like if you actually have never done any of the events before.
Yeah, no, like, there was not a thing out there that, like, I'd never done an elevated deadlift before. Like, I think it was like a keg load. I think it was like a natural stone carry. I don't know. Like, it was just a bunch of, like, events that I've never done before. Like, never tried any of this stuff, and it was great. And from there I was hooked.
Nice. What's your background then? Obviously, you said you've been training, you've been lifting sports in high school, college.
I did high school sports, went in the Army right after high school. And then, when I got out, like, I just didn't have anything really to train for. And like, I wanted to stay in shape, that was about it. And then, like, tried CrossFit, tried running, tried, this, that, and the other. And like, nothing really took like Strongman did.
That makes sense.
So you were just casually training, and 2 years later you're 4th at OSG. I mean, that's pretty wild, man. Honestly, like, most of the time when we have people on this show, or you talk, people are like, they come in a couple of years that are, in that range, but they have like this long background of like Olympic weightlifting or powerlifting, football, something.
Yeah. So I wasn't doing anything heavy. Like, I was doing mostly CrossFit kind of stuff. Like, I only owned bumper plates. So I did that novice show in May. And then in like July, I found another like open show not too far. And like it had a deadlift in there, and I'm like, oh, I need to buy some steel plates. Like I can't get more than 405 on the bar. Like I need to actually like figure out how to deadlift. And so like I just started like slowly buying weights and like, did that open show. And then I think the next was USS Nationals. I did that. I won that. So after Nationals, a buddy that I met there, he sends me a link and he's like, hey, you have to do this. And it was the online qualifier for OSG. I had no idea what it was. I was like, oh, okay, well, take some videos, submit it. And then it wasn't until after I got the invite that I started to research anything, like figure out what it was. And then I started to get a little nervous.
Nice.
That makes sense. That's a wild rise there, especially too of like to not because part of you when you said you only have bumper plates, I was like, you couldn't have been deadlifting that crazy, and now you're like 875 is like solid jump there.
Every show I've done, I've had to push my deadlift max to do whatever the thing is. Like OSG, I didn't know if I could do 600, and it was like the 650 or whatever it was for reps, and so I had to like work up to that. And yeah, I didn't know what I got myself into when I signed up for OSG.
well, clearly the sport favors you. Or I mean, to go from doing CrossFit stuff, not having enough plates a couple years ago, like John says, pulling 875 comfortably. That's pretty insane strength gain in a very short period of time. That's super impressive.
I'm finally getting to the point where I'm not in pain anymore. I did it too fast. Right. I don't recommend anybody doing it like that.
I've never heard anybody that trains strongman say that I'm not in pain. This is another first for me. Share your secrets with us, Brandon.
I showed up to OSG and I was like, guys, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't hurt. Like, what? Like, this doesn't seem right.
That's crazy. But to be fair, like when seeing you in person, like I'd always watch your videos and you kind of try to get a sense of like people's scale, but like in person, you're just a very like aesthetically built person. I was like, this guy's built for lifting. So when you said like you didn't have that big of a background, I was so surprised because in my mind, I was like, definitely probably did some sort of like intense powerlifting or something.
No, I didn't. I just wanted to stay in shape. Like I was bored. I wanted something to do.
Dude, that's wild. Because how old are you? I'm trying to guess. Okay, that's up there.
Yeah, that was part of the whole. Like I was mentally not in a good place. Like after I didn't podium at OSG, like I'm like, dude, I'm old. Like it took a lot to get here, and like I kind of sit there and wonder, like, oh, did I deserve to be here? Am I ever going to make it back? Like, is it really going to be the best I do is fourth? And then and that's where Strongman's great. Like all the 105s, were like, dude, like you'll be back, like, bringing me back around. And that was great.
But also fourth is pretty freaking phenomenal in and of itself. Like there's a lot of great strongmen that never podium, like really phenomenally great strongmen, right? I mean, obviously the goal is to win, right?
Yeah.
But man, the level of competition these days, I'm not saying you won't, I'm not trying to talk you off of that or anything, but I mean, fourth place is still pretty freaking phenomenal. I mean, top 10 in that field is pretty insane, right? I mean, your top 10 of the most elite strongman in U105 in the world currently, taking fourth place is no small feat in and of itself. You'll be back. And I mean, you keep pushing, like we said at the beginning of the show, every champion has to, you didn't lose at fourth, but you have to lose before you can win, right? It's just like, that's the way it goes.
That's what I had to step back and look at. And I'm like, look, I got fifth last year. I got fourth this year. And, a couple small mistakes away from being better. Like, and that's what I got to come back to and just take my time and
yeah. It's real stiff competition. I mean, I think the biggest example of like how close things can be is like watching like Derek Owens, who was like not going to be in there and then invited like the day of, like watching him do it
throwing
like
bags
street
in
clothes.
jeans.
Yeah, throwing them in jeans or cargo pants and just like hiking boots. I was like, to just ace the bags like that and in cargo pants and hiking boots, I was like, that's an intense thing. And that's how close things are, because you really are. It's like the cream of the crop. Like all it takes is like missing one thing.
And that's just insane. Like that, I was so nervous backstage before bags. My first bag beelined right into the target. I about took the thing over. Like the fact that he ran out there in jeans and didn't do that, like that's just amazing.
Yeah, because that's a very iconic run and everything.
Yeah.
Briefly, one of our listeners, actually, Tyler Thompson, messaged us to say why everyone was calling it Tough Man is because that's the amateur boxing they have in Charleston, West Virginia. And they thought everyone was there for amateur boxing, just like a very intense 400 people boxing.
I get that from like everybody anyway, everywhere. Like,
I've given up on trying to explain it. Like, if they don't get it, that it's the thing with the stones, then they're just not going to get it.
It's true.
Right. Well, I mean, I've even had people like they even know that it's the thing with the stones and pulling trucks and flipping tires, and they still call it Tough Man.
I see. I get bodybuilding more than anything else, and I'm like, no, I like food. Like this is not the bodybuilding body. Like
I don't know. I must have a bodybuilding body because people always assume that I'm into bodybuilding. I actually went on an interview the other day, and the hiring manager, we went out for lunch, and he's asking me, if I compete and all this stuff. And he's like, oh, my cousin competes. He's like, here, let me show you all this stuff. And his cousin's a bodybuilder. I'm like, oh, I don't do bodybuilding. He's like, what?
Yeah. But most people don't understand the difference. They think any sort of like lifting sport is all the same.
Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, we are all bodybuilders in our own right.
Yeah.
We're building our body.
Like, it's just got a protective layer on it. That's all.
Got a protective layer on it. We're all bodybuilders. We're just not all posers. That's
it does seem kind of miserable getting down that lean. I saw Matt McKeegan. I think he's the one who's going to do bodybuilding this year or something. Just one show.
He dabbles in the show every now and again,
which is crazy. Like watching how lean you have to get to do that.
No thanks.
I like that too much. He's lean all year round, so it's not like terrible.
That's true.
And,
I mean, I like food and whiskey too much to be that lean.
Yeah, I can't. Every time I try to drop weight, the minute any like lift doesn't happen, like there's like a minute strength loss, I'm like, nope, full plug.
Yeah.
The second 875 feels heavy, you're like, nope, we're not going down ever.
The calories are too low, I can't do it. Nope.
That's true. Do you think you'll go for the record? I know Luke Davis is going for the 105.
I don't know. I think
you should.
I think I'm too old to do multiple shows a year.
I don't want to hear it. Stop.
I want to really do ASM and OSG. PSL invited me. I think it's too soon. I think I need a dedicated strength block, get back into things and drop a little weight and actually like do things.
This is contrary to what you were just saying.
Yes.
Point this out.
Yeah.
Because what do you walk around comfortably? Like what's your like kind of like homeostasis range for?
255.
Okay. It's pretty solid.
Way too big a cut. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I started working with Justin. Shout out to Justin and his brand.
Justin Loy, of course.
Yeah. He which I'm pretty sure he's running a promo right now, like 30 days get you Mike O'Connor lean or your money back. I'm pretty sure that's what we talked about. No, I want to get down to like 240 and maybe 245, somewhere in that area, and make it so cuts are just absolutely miserable. Like the OSG cut, we got there Tuesday night, and I started my first sweat, and I didn't sleep until after weigh-in.
Oh, wow. That's not great. So you don't do any water loading or anything?
I do. I just don't respond to it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, Justin's telling me I'm just doing it wrong. So we're going to do that.
Interested to hear. I'm not taking away anything from Justin, but I think the first couple times I did water loads, I didn't respond well to him either. And I found that a big problem. Well, I don't know if it was a problem, but it seems to be a factor for me. I don't cut salt, and I sure as hell don't drink distilled water. Once I stopped doing that, like my water cuts were so much smoother, so much more productive. What I do, if I do a 255 down to 231, which I've done a handful of times, I cut all my carbs out 5 days, but I don't cut salt out. Carbs retain way more water than salt does. But yeah.
To be fair, everyone talks about how miserable weight cutting is, and Darren is like, it's easy. He was like, it's not
shouldn't be hard.
It's like,
it shouldn't be hard.
Justin keeps telling me that like the ASM weight cut isn't going to be miserable anymore, but I don't know what a not miserable weight cut seems like. So
I mean, they're not enjoyable, right? I mean, there's nothing pleasant in fasting for 24 hours or whatnot, but or drinking 3 gallons of water 2 days in a row. That sucks. It's not fun pissing every 20 minutes, right? I mean, but it's not harder than the competition itself. Shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. You're on mute, Brandon.
Did your speakers just go out?
Lose his mic. Oh, there you go.
Oh, he's back.
I don't know. It said my internet blanked out and the mic went off.
Weird.
Yeah. I don't know. I go back to if I stress my body that hard for 48 hours before a 3-day show, like if I can not do that, maybe I can.
You shouldn't have to for 48 hours either. Yeah, it should not be more than 24 hours.
Yeah.
That stress, that cut, that fast, and then it's all just recouping moisture and glycogen, man.
Yeah. So that's the hope. Get down in weight, and then maybe the next one won't be miserable.
Yeah. I'm still with you. 30, 35, 20, 25 pound cuts are not fun. Yeah. It's a lot easier when you only have to do like 10 or 15. Because I mean, a good water load for me, I'll drop 10 pounds just there. So yeah, then it's just a little sweat. Once you learn how to sweat really hard too, right? I mean, sweatsuits, obviously.
Yeah.
I usually sit in my hotel room. Hotels will hate hearing this, but I'll just crank the hot water up in the shower, right? And I'll put my sauna suit on, and then I'll just blast myself with the complimentary hairdryer. And I'll for like 30 minutes at a time, 30 in, 30 out. I'll just like crank the AC outside in the room, right? So that I can cool down and dry off really fast. I mean, I'll dump like 2.5 pounds of water weight every 30 minutes.
I didn't think about the hairdryer, but I'd sit there in the hot bath and get all bundled up in my sweats and my plastics and 4 or 5 blankets and just sit there and trying to sweat it out.
That makes sense. But yeah, I mean, you've gotten so close to the podiums and everything. If you think if you can eliminate as much discomfort as you can leading up to that, like you're going to be golden there. And two, I mean, to be fair, you're only 7 shows in. So I was like,
and that's the thing too. Like it takes a while to really, I think it took me a lot of cuts to learn what my body really responds to. And everybody's a little bit different, right? Nobody's the same.
Yeah.
And so it comes with experience for sure.
Yeah. I've tried a few different methods, and the only one that went well was for Clash last year. And that was my worst physical performance, so we're not doing that again.
That is tough, though.
Yeah, there's so many factors that come into play in that cut and refeed that can totally screw. I mean, we had Johnny Almo on recently, and I know a lot of athletes are a big fan of like not changing your diet. I've always had a lot of success from just destroying Twinkies, man. Twinkies and PB&Js, man. I mean, I'll eat protein too, but a lot of salt, a lot of hot carbs, but there's a point too, right? You don't want to, you don't want to bloat yourself to the point that you can't close your hands. But
I was, so my third show I did was USS Nationals. And at the last minute, I jumped up to the 242 because they were offering that Clash invite.
Sure.
And so I didn't end up cutting it all for them.
Nice.
And I was talking with a guy who was sitting there cutting because I was just, lounging in the hot tub, and he's sitting there doing hot and cold cycles. And I think I just didn't have to eat was all I had to do to make weight. And I'm like, I'm really looking forward to breakfast tomorrow. And he's like, I'm gonna go out and have sushi. I'm like, that is a bold choice.
Yeah, sushi has been my go-to post weigh-in for years and years and years and years. Because I mean, all the sodium in rice, you digest it quickly. Like I've never got sick from sushi. I definitely got sick from eating like strange Chinese food or something like that. But sushi is, I mean, it's super simple on your digestive system. There's low fat, high carb, high sodium. It's like one of the best post weigh-in, like refeed.
I would not have thought that. Like I would have.
Yeah, but
and you digest it quick, right? Because one of the biggest challenges I think anybody has after fasting for 24 hours, hopefully not more, right? Your stomach is kind of constricted, and you have to really slowly reintroduce liquid and food. And if you get too heavy too quick, you're just going to bog your digestive system down, right? You need things that are going to get in and get out of you really quickly so that you can put a lot through your digestive system in the next 24 hours. Sushi's a perfect choice for that.
I was so dehydrated for OSG that before I got my IV finished, like I got hooked up and everything, before that was gone, my gallon was gone.
Oh, how'd you respond to that? Like typically if I drink too fast right that soon, like it just bogs me down and I feel like I'm just waterlogged.
No, it was fine. I got those down, had some bananas and everything like that while I was waiting for the rest of my IV. And after that, it was good.
Excellent.
Then went out for breakfast.
Yeah. Nice. I'm always a big fan of just like, I'll start sipping Pedialyte initially and then water and Pedialyte and water. But if I just chug, man, it's not a good scenario for me.
After my initial gallon, like I crave chocolate milk.
Nice.
Like I don't know what it is. So last year when we were at OSG and everything shut down for the hurricane, and the only place it was open was like not IHOP. What's the other one?
Denny's,
Waffle House.
Yeah, Waffle House.
Denny's.
Oh,
yeah,
Denny's.
No, it was Waffle House. So we go into this Waffle House. It's the only place open, and the lady's like, what do you want to drink? I was like, half gallon of chocolate milk. And she's like, haha, very funny. I'm like, no, I don't think you understand me. She's like, I don't have a tab for half gallon. I'm like 10 glasses. Like
10 glasses.
Waffle House is great though because they're always open, and there's that thing of like FEMA has that index where they call Waffle Houses to see what level of service they're offering to know like how bad the hurricanes or natural disasters are.
Hold on, what?
Yeah, FEMA, if you look it up, FEMA has this thing the scale that they call all the Waffle Houses in like the South. And if they still have gas and if they're still serving full menu, it's not full
like
disaster.
A restricted menu thing, or if it's full menu, or if their staff isn't coming. Yeah, like they don't shut down. Like
because they'll keep the gas because they cook most of their things through gas. So as long as they're still offering that limited menu of like eggs, pancakes, and that stuff, like if they don't offer certain things, then that's full on like crisis levels of like.
I'm not sure how I feel about the government relying on a private business, Waffle House, to determine the level of severity of a storm.
That's how it was though. Like when they shut everything down for the hurricane, that was the only place that was open.
Yeah, because the crazy thing is too, at least for years, Waffle House used to charge their servers. You still have to pay for your meals during your shift. They'd like charge you the food cost or something, which always seemed goofy for like
if you're gonna hold me hostage here, you better feed me.
Yeah, right? I was like, because it is a very strange thing. The FEMA Waffle House like index thing is like just the strangest thing. Yeah,
that's very strange. I'm not sure how. I mean, I don't trust the government to begin with. Now I trust them even less.
Yeah, because here it is.
They're so inept at their job, they have to rely on Waffle House to indicate level of severity.
It's true, because it is this. Over the years, there's the Waffle House index, like that's like ingenious. This is FEMA saying that it's ingenious. That they think this is.
They're saying it's normal. That's even more scary.
Yeah, a little piece of normal that, like, if they can serve a full menu, they've likely got power running on a generator. Limited menu.
Likely.
Might not have running water or electricity, but there's stove for bacon, eggs, and coffee. Yeah.
A limited menu means, they don't have running water. I mean, they shouldn't be touching raw food with their hands, dude. Like,
just hand sanitizer.
I'm not sure if I'm more worried about FEMA using this as like a gauge of severity, or that Waffle House is serving food without running water. Like, how are they washing the dishes, man?
Yeah. But then this is the whole thing. I was like, briefly just had to bring that up as a thing because of just how preposterous. When I first heard that, I was like, that's not a thing. I had Darren's exact reaction.
No,
like,
it's absolutely a thing.
I was like, yeah, because when you look it up, it's just like, but yeah, reading about that, when you're like, a restaurant without running water is a little bit of like a questionable scenario.
No, I mean, I'm pretty sure you have to have like running potable water to even be in business in the United States and almost every like jurisdiction in this country.
No, they got FEMA exemption. It's fine.
FEMA exemption.
That's true, because during a hurricane, there are no rules.
There are no rules. That's fucking anarchy.
Because really, water's coming down during a hurricane. Do they really need more?
Right. But just
put the plates outside. It'll be okay.
But it's the funniest index to just think of, like, that's the way we gauge like how bad weather is. Like, you're like, if you can still go to Waffle House, like, a part
Everything
of me
is okay.
There has to be like some secret that they actually pay Waffle House employees a lot more than the internet claims they do, because I'm like, how are you getting people to show up in the middle of natural disasters?
I don't think they're getting them to show up. I don't think they're allowing them to leave.
That's true. I'm like,
you're on a 36-hour shift.
Like back in the day when you used to like be able to smoke inside Waffle House, you just like the server would like teach you and everything. Because I remember one time I was smoking a cigarette and I went to put it out, and the server was like, wait, before you do that, put it out and then blow the leftover smoke so it doesn't taste stale when you try it again. And she had one behind her ear. She's like, that's what I do. Like, when I've like, if there's no customers in here, I'll just smoke. And if they come in, put your cigarette out, blow the stale smoke out, and it tastes fine after. I was like, okay.
Is that true, though?
I was like, I don't know. And part of it, I mean, she was smoking Pall Mall, so I'm like, I don't think there's a flavor issue.
I mean, I've smoked enough in my youth to know better. I haven't smoked in a very, very long time because it's disgusting now to me. But I'm pretty sure it's not the stale smoke that makes it taste bad. It's all the tar and the resin that is built up in the tobacco in the filter to that point.
Yeah, but you're used to all that by now.
No, I could never get used to that. It was when I smoked, I quit smoking when I was 21, 45 now, so it's been a long, long time. But I could remember like at parties, especially the next day when I wake up and I'd be out of smokes and all there was the ashtray, right? So we just like smoke all the butts, and they were all just nasty, dude, just nasty.
Oh, man.
I think that's when you know you have a problem.
Oh, dude, I had a problem. That's why I woke up one day. I mean, my problem was more than cigarettes and alcohol. It was a combination of many substances. And and I realized that one day, thankfully. And I woke up and I quit cold turkey, everything. And now it's like the smell of cigarette smoke to me is just the most rank, just disgusting thing in the world. Whereas like people that haven't smoked, I've talked to people that haven't never smoked. They're just like, yeah, I don't mind the smell, and I'm like, it's so bad.
It's true. You also have that like sense memory of just remembering, because it's like I remember apartments and stuff that like we smoked in, that like when you move out, you'd like take down the banners, and the banners would leave white silhouettes because the walls were so stained, and you're like, ugh.
No, I would do EMS. You know, I live in a small town. You know, and you'd go into some of these houses of people that like never left, and like they smoked, you know, nonstop, and like you look at the walls, and you're like, that's like that came out of you, like
right.
that's just coating on the wall, like
yeah. That's just like, that's the craziest thing. I remember delivering pizzas and walking into some people's houses, and just that smell of like, because some people's houses was the worst combination of like stale cigarette smoke and then just cat litter. And you're just like, this is like, I want, there are some houses where literally you would walk up and they'd open the door and your eyes would start watering. It was like that. And they'd be like, hey, you can come in, just put the pizzas on the table. I'd be like, actually, let's do it right here. Actually, can we step 6 feet away from your doorway, close the door, maybe finish this transaction? I'm not going in your house. I'm like,
that combination of cat litter and cigarette smoke is just
oh yeah. Because that's the thing. At least with like pizza delivery, you don't have to go in. I'm like with EMS, like having to like go in there into the whole situation.
I do have fond memories though of old, like just hole in the wall bars that smell like that next day smell of like stale beer and cigarette smoke. I have very fond memories as a boy, because my dad used to take me to this bar that served like this very unique sandwich. It was really, really good. We go and have lunch there once in a while, and this bar would smell like that stale beer and cigarette smoke smell. And so like when I smell that every once in a while, it's been a long time, it's like, yeah, that's a good memory.
I can see that, because it is like, that's like the smell of fresh cigarettes these days. I'm like, I'm trying my best. Of like, had some stomach issues, so I can't smoke anything without throwing up. So that's
good. That's probably probably a good thing, man.
Yeah, that's true.
That's your body telling you.
Yeah, I know. I woke up at 186 this morning, and I started the year at 200. So I was like, it's been an adjustment having to like eat smaller meals and stuff, because I went to the hospital. It was
olive oil
experience, but yeah,
start putting olive oil on everything.
Okay, because that's the main thing, is it needs to be light. Of like, there are certain things that like a slice of pizza will just like the worst heartburn you've ever had, and then just like throw up later. Which is a bummer, because pizza was a huge part of my diet, which is not great.
I can't eat much of anything without heartburn these days anymore. It has to be like pretty like whole food, very light garlic, very little sugar. I don't know. Yeah, my stomach doesn't like stuff like that very much anymore.
I've been eating clean for so long that like pizza will upset my stomach.
Yeah,
like, it's too much grease.
Same.
Yeah. So that's the positive spin I'm taking on it.
I eat clean, except for I imbibe a little bit of whiskey here and there. It's like, that's my...
It's true. You're allowed to, though, of like, it's a good way.
Yeah, I am.
One small vice.
I'm an adult. I can have an adult beverage.
You can't tell me what to do.
No, I'm going to try to... that's what I'm thinking. It's a much healthier year, going to eat clean, like... Because that's the main thing. I've realized, like, I had gotten to the point where my body just doesn't like, I wouldn't sleep well and stuff. So it's nice to like get better sleep and stuff.
Just start small, like, you know, baby steps. Don't just dive right at it. Otherwise you'll never keep at it.
Yeah. Because that was the hard thing, is because because when I got real sick, I just threw up for 24 hours straight. And then like they gave me lidocaine for my stomach. That helped. But like, even now, if I eat more than like a cup of food, like just feel terrible. So it's been a rough adjustment. Like I had to, all my frozen pizzas I had stocked up, I just had to give to the neighbors. I was like, do you guys, this is a weird request, but can I give you like 9 frozen pizzas? And then I just like cleaned out our freezer and just threw away all the stuff that I was like, I guess
all you need is you need white rice, whole cuts of meat, whole vegetables. That's like the best diet you can eat.
It's true. So
whole
it's like
whole eggs and oatmeal too, man. I'm like I don't understand people not eating whole eggs.
Yeah. Because I think it's because there's so much like weird messaging about eggs. Sometimes they're like the whites are the good part, the whites are the bad part, yolks are the bad part.
The yolk is probably the best part. It's
There's
the most
so many-
nutrient dense.
Yeah, and there's so many studies out there that say dietary cholesterol has nothing to do with blood cholesterol, and yet it's just thrown right back at you.
Yep.
It's true. And that's the main thing is like, because people just don't know what like good dieting is and stuff when there's like that weird messaging.
Well, I think the messaging though is like, there's so many self-interested entities out in the world right now that are, I mean, the food industry, right? I mean, the beef industry, the plant-based industry now, right? They're all competing for the same dollar, and they're throwing out mixed messaging, right? Contrary messaging, trying to convince everybody that their food is the best, and nobody knows fucking what the truth is anymore.
So I can't remember what it was, but I was listening to this podcast for a while, and it was like the weird history of food or something like that. And then like somehow I ended up losing it, and I can't remember what it was, and I really want to find it again because it would like tell you all of that, like, oh, hey, bacon became a breakfast staple because some tobacco industry guy started marketing it, and, you know, like weird shit like that, and like how butter and margarine got villainized, and you know,
well, margarine
like
is all hydrogenated fats and shit, so it should be probably villainized. But butter, like, I think you stick to the old staples. I mean, yeah, bacon maybe wasn't a thing until it was marketed, but bacon's fucking amazing. So
bacon's delicious.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I just learned too recently. I had no idea. I kind of feel dumb for not knowing this. Did you guys know that the reason that our eggs are white in the United States is because some marketeer somewhere in the last 100 years or so decided that the American palate or whatever did not find brown eggs appetizing, so they scrub the brown off of them.
No.
Yeah.
I think it's genetic in the chicken.
There's something weird about it. Because they said there's some sort of like dyeing and pasteurizing that makes them extra white, and that's why the yolks are different colored than like some of the more natural ones. Let's do actual fact checking, because we did actually misrepresent gun statistics in Tommy's episode. He did tell us since 2012 gun violence has just gone off like back to like
this is the internet. There is no place for facts and logic. Like
it's true. I'm like, we're allowed to be a podcast and stuff, but you actually have to be careful because Mark Bell's podcast, they took it down for like 72 hours because of misinformation. They were like, it poses a danger to the public. I was like, that's insane. Like, it's just like,
So what did we say that was wrong?
We said that gun violence had been going down when actually it's near 90s levels now because it's gone up since 2012. Like, you could argue that there are some historical and political things that started to like increase, maybe decrease police funding or something, but they've gone up pretty high.
I think it's mostly social media, like all of that. And,
that's true.
Like not to sound old, but I'm old, and you know, back when I was in school, if you mouthed off to too many kids, like somebody was going to sock you in the mouth. Now you can just go home and you can do it on your computer to a bunch of random people, and like what is considered shocking is like, you know, exponentially worse than what was considered shocking back then, because you know you're coming up with new and creative insults all the time, and like they're sharing them on the internet, and you know it's
So we did it. Apparently, they're not bleached. It's just like pasteurizing and genetics and their cleaning process. But their yolks are weird though.
Yeah. So there's a pasteurizing and cleaning process though that helps make them like extra white.
Yeah. Because people, I mean, the main thing is that's bizarre is like eggs naturally can be stored at room temperature. That's how they've always existed. And for some reason, as a country, we're like, you know what? Let's take off that protective coating.
You have to refrigerate. To leave that oil on. You have to like leave that oil on if you want them to be at room temperature.
Yeah, because our whole pasteurization process is just like a weird scam of like, I read a book a while back that was talking about like how much of refrigeration has just been unnecessary, but it like helps companies sell everything. Of like, you tell people that like now things that could be more shelf stable aren't shelf stable. Like things go bad faster because like we're relying on this whole thing, which overall has increased like carbon emissions and fossil fuel use because now we have to like do all these things like fish markets and stuff. Like used to just be able to just like maybe ice things or like, and now everything's like super refrigerated. It's crazy.
And you look at all the preservatives and everything in the store. Like I make a loaf of bread and it's good for 4 or 5 days. Like you buy a loaf of bread that's been sitting on the grocery store for a month, and then it sits in my cabinet for another month, and it's still just as good and somehow not, moldy and.
Yeah,
that can't be good for you.
Yeah, because it's a weird mix where like we just do like weird preservative things of like the thing of like demonizing butter and then telling of like everyone, I can't believe it's not butter. Like, dude, they're like, don't have that natural fat. Do like just a bunch of trans fats.
Yeah.
Like, to replace all your natural oils with seed oils, and which I don't know. What are you guys' opinions on seed oils? That's been like the new internet thing that people are like.
I don't know.
Any thoughts on it?
I think. I think life is going to kill us all one way or the other. And if you want to eat seed oils, fucking eat seed oils. Like if you don't want to, don't eat them. Like, I think the food industry, in general, I mean, all industries are all competing for the same dollar, and they're going to try to convince you that, whatever is good for you so they can sell more of their product. Whether it really is or not is highly debatable. But I mean, we also live at a time where life expectancy is at an all-time high. So I don't know.
I go back to that old quote, like, if this aisle of the supermarket is the health food aisle, what's everything else? Is that the kill me aisle?
Yeah, right.
And that's the main thing, because that's another fact check some people are saying is we said that things are getting better, whereas like the statistics, life expectancy has gone down in the past.
I don't know. If some fitness influencer is trying to sell me on it, like they are the seed oils, or like they were for a while there, everybody had anterior pelvic tilt, or all of that. Like if fitness influencers are trying to sell me on it, I don't think it's real.
That makes sense. I was like, because that's the main thing. Let's see.
I think you're never going to go wrong by eating whole foods.
Correct.
Period.
That's
like
true.
The more like processed foods in general are handled far too much. They pose greater risks because of cross-contamination. I mean, there's just so many. There's many reasons to just eat whole foods. I think
and that's the main thing. Is like,
I was thinking about this the other day when we were in Iraq. 120 degree temperatures, and they had pallets of unrefrigerated milk that just sat outside in these little like paper containers, and they're like, yeah, that's fine. Like, we'll throw it on some ice before you drink it, but it's fine.
It's high, like probably some additives in it. It's highly pasteurized.
Yeah. They're like, as long as you don't open it, it's fine. It'll be fine.
Right. It's like powdered milk, which is just like the worst. Of just like, you guys ever had powdered milk for like cereal and stuff?
Yeah. When I was young, I grew up very poor. Yeah. That's like what the state gave us.
Like that and like the cheese that's like non-dairy cheese. It's just like big old block of
big old block of orange something. What was that you just pulled up?
So here's the crazy thing. So gun violence has gone up past the level of the 90s and everything, but suicide, that's the one that's also like the crisis of like opioids. They said right now, they said 190 people die in America every day of opioids. That's a 747 just like crashing every day. And it's like, I think that's also a part of it of like, I think like health foods can help a lot, but also like community and like going out there, sun and all this stuff, because it is like, I feel like a lot of this stuff could also be tracked to like air conditioned use, staying inside. Like, I don't know. It was nice, like back in like this little period of time that I went to school and stuff, like you had Halo and you could all hang out with people, very communal type internet thing. And then everything started going online. People are getting more atomized, like, because that's always a shocking thing to me, is to realize how much of gun violence is just like suicides are a huge thing.
Yeah.
Right.
In this
So this is
country.
interesting because apparently, because I know there was a correlation between like SWAT raids and gun violence in the early 2000s. Like SWAT raids like spiked dramatically in the early 2000s, right? And a lot of people are, would come back and say like, why are we experiencing such high levels of like no knock raids at gunpoint when gun violence was at an all-time low, right? In the early 2000s. But yeah,
that's and it is a weird thing. I'm like, because you also have like very strange connections to like all these events. So that was the one fact check that Tommy was like, hey, gun violence has actually gotten worse and life expectancy has gone down slightly.
But I mean,
so it's,
but again, I mean, all this stuff goes up and down constantly, right?
Yeah.
But it's the trend that matters, right? Life expectancy is still at an all-time high in the history of mankind, especially here in the Western world.
Because that's the main thing is, what was it? If we see this and for the people who are listening, the thing we showed was a Pew Center thing that showed that gun violence had gone down early 2000s. It went back up in 2012. It started climbing again. But yeah, the rest of the world is doing pretty decent in keeping that upward trajectory. Things have gone kind of started to plateau, dipped a little bit. Some people say it's COVID.
Well, but you also have 2020, right? I mean, people died because of.
It's true.
Well, and I think
2019,
yeah, right, we're getting more and more sedentary. Like I think that has a lot to do with it. You're throwing, instead of looking at diet or exercise for depression or any of these conditions that come up, they're like, oh, take this pill. It has this side effect. Oh, go ahead and take this pill for that side effect.
Dude, the side effects always crack me up. So fact check this. The last time I checked, so apparently, so when I said that we were at all-time low gun violence, I apparently hadn't checked it in a few years. So I haven't checked this either in a few years. I believe the only two countries that allow direct-to-consumer marketing pharmaceuticals is the United States and New Zealand.
Because that's the part that's always thrown me off is the like ask your doctor about like watching Dope Sick and stuff, like those things that were just like ask your doctor if you could try this out. You're like, why would you? So
we're
asking?
We're basically the most drug addicted. I mean, the Americans consume more prescription drugs, I think, on average too. You should fact check that as well than any other nation in the world. And yeah, the ads that I see. Like everything has like these just crazy, insane side effects. Like I get it, like they may not be the common side effects, but to go and like, I don't know, there's like this pill that you can take if you don't have HIV to protect you from having unprotected sex with potentially with somebody with HIV. Like first of all, I don't know why you'd want to have sex that bad. Unprotected sex that you would take this pill, but like one of the side effects was legitimately like fucking death, and I'm like you're playing with your life no matter what.
Yeah, I don't.
And it's marketed
it's crazy
to you.
The shit that they market to people, this isn't normal.
Like finasteride. So Instagram advertises it all the time. If you for some reason decide to shave your head in the middle of last year and Instagram decides that you're losing your hair, so you get these ads. Finasteride, some of the side effects of it, so your hair grows back, but you can have erectile dysfunction, depression, back pain, inverted nipples, depression, loss of strength, chest tightness or pain, possible suicidality, rashes, breast enlargement and tenderness, diarrhea, tingling of the hands and feet, heart palpitations. At least your hair's growing back.
Yeah, maybe just wear a hat. Like
wear a hat.
You like
not a fucking toupee, bro.
Yeah, or just shave.
It's nuts.
It's like not the end of the world.
Yeah,
dude, I just like it's a crazy world we live in, and like the stuff that is marketed to us, like that these pharmaceutical companies are just coming up with shit just to sell.
Oh
yeah. Well, that's the main thing. Oh yeah, you can have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, insulin resistance. You can get type 2 diabetes, but at least your hair's going back.
What was that line on the Big Bang Theory? My company just created and cured dry eye syndrome or something like that.
Oh man,
Dude, where
it's
do I
just,
sign up?
Yeah, I'm like, it's crazy because there's actually a whole like syndrome of it and everything that's like
Yeah,
out
that's
there.
gonna
But
be
you're
a no
like,
for me.
yeah. And that's the crazy thing is like, for one, it's always been weird to me of like Dope Six, really good show. And then some of these ones that just like talk about how they marketed pain of like the study they did for Oxycontin that said it had a 1% like overdose rate or something. It was in a hospital and you were administered by a doctor regularly. That's a
Yeah.
completely different study than an at home, any use kind of thing. And like, they're like, oh, it's the most effective painkiller of all time, but also the least addictive. You're like, those things are mutually exclusive. Like they cannot exist in the same
Yeah.
thing. Like people are taking painkillers specifically to avoid that. You're like, it's the
if
most
you go back-
effective.
If you go back through like the history of medicine, like I think it was like the 1920s, like we realized that like people had like a addictive, to like cocaine and everything that they were using as sedative, and they're like, oh hey, we have this new thing. It's called heroin. Like it's great. It's gonna get you right off of it.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
But also, United States and New Zealand were the only ones that allowed direct to consumer marketing for prescription drugs because
yes, I got one right.
Other countries are like, maybe don't just advertise drugs to people and tell them ask your doctor.
I mean, it seems
this.
very unethical, right? I mean, it's very unethical when it's a multi-billion-dollar for-profit industry, right? That's their motivation. The motivation of all corporations. Have you ever taken like even the most basic business course or economics course? The number one, the primary objective of the executive branch of management is just to make money for their shareholders.
Yeah. Well, and how many people out there are they can't read WebMD because they're going to have every symptom out there, and now all of a sudden you just you're marketing to them like, oh yeah, I got that now.
Yeah. Well, daytime television is just awful to watch and stuff. Like it's like an insane amount of commercials. Like anytime we stay at a hotel, like I'll bring my laptop or a tablet so I can watch ad-free stuff because you don't. I guess we're so used to like watching ad-free TV and like Netflix and stuff. You don't realize how much of stuff is directly like, hey, try this out. Ask your doctor this. Like, here's this garbage product. And you're like, that doesn't make sense.
Anytime the political season starts to come up and it's like, oh, just cancel it. Just get rid of it. Like, I don't need it.
Yeah. Because it is like, it's just like constant barrage of just like weird things. And two, it's like strange because now like everything is like they'll like fact check and label some things as like misinformation but not others, and it's like these weird like biased things. And at the end of the day, like I like whatever, people have different opinions about like what Elon Musk is doing to Twitter, but what I love about that is they actually fact check the ads. Like they'll actually be like, this medication actually doesn't do that. Or like this, like you can actually, some of the ads on there for like Temu, they'll be like, this is drop shipping and the product probably doesn't match the description or pictures that are offered. And you're like, that's the best kind of fact check I've ever seen. It's just like,
I'm not on Twitter. I didn't know they do that. But that's actually,
I'm not either.
Yeah. So it is starting to like move to like, some things are getting better and stuff, but it is,
it's
I think,
so independent though. That's the thing that's like, unfortunate is it took one man to go and like overthrow the Twitter freaking company so that he could try to make it into something that's not mainstream like every other platform, Google, Facebook, and or Meta or whatever it is now. I mean, they're all
I mean, we all remember that, like, what is it? The Microsoft got busted for antitrust things by just like including their own browser on their own operating system. And now we literally have two companies to choose from for cell phone service, basically, of like Android and Apple. And it's weird that like antitrust laws have just gone out the window and stuff. Because that's the main thing is like,
well, they focus on small companies now. The ones that have a lot of money and power now control the lobbying, right?
Because, I mean, what is it? Facebook, when Mark Zuckerberg was testifying to Congress, when they're like, look, you could spend $10 million and fight us for the next decade, or you could do the right thing. That was like the most surreal moment to realize, like, you just can't punish billionaires. Like, they can eventually face justice, but they could just stretch it out till all the politicians they don't like are replaced. and then like eventually have a mistrial. If, like the Sackler family with Purdue Pharma, like no one's faced real prison charges for like the opioid crisis, and OxyContin was like just devastating in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And stuff just like wiped out whole areas. People are really sad. Like, what is it now? Fentanyl like is killing a huge amount of people, and that's still a pharmaceutical thing. Yeah. And they're like, and after a while, part of it, there's this weird thing that like happened that like everything's about pain management and stuff, when a lot of pain's mental and stuff. Like the main reason when I tore my meniscus, like I was like, this hurts real bad. I need to see if like the pain's real. And I tattooed my hands, and I literally could not feel the pain in my knee for like 3 days. I was like, it's fixed.
We don't ever look at the root cause either. It's just, just a pain pill, or, you know, let's give you this cortisol shot, or let's like maybe we should like look at why.
It's the U.S., man. Everything is, doctors are apathetic because most of their patients want the easy route, so they don't even bother discussing the hard facts, or the hey, if you actually want to get better, this is the step you want to do. Because the vast majority of Americans just want the easy route. They want the drug. They want the drug, and so the doctors are just going straight to like, hey, here's a drug, see ya. Right? They become very apathetic.
Like 9 out of 10 people, if you went to the doctor and be like, hey, my knee hurts, and he was like, well, you should exercise more, and like that was it, like they'd be pissed. They're like, I'm not paying that bill.
Yeah,
they want the I want the pain pill, or I want you to take an MRI and see what's really wrong.
Or they'll like try to offer surgery, which is insanely expensive.
That's why I don't like going to doctors, because they always want to go the expensive, like the MRI, the CAT scan, the drugs and everything. And I mean, I've been to the doctor a couple of times for, some concerning symptoms, and, several tests and thousands of dollars later, they're like, I don't really know what's wrong.
I had a friend who had a partial thickness rotator cuff tear. It was like 20%. And the VA was like, no, you need a rehab. Like, we need to do 6 months of rehab before we do anything else. And he got mad. He's like, no, I'm not doing rehab, blah, blah, blah. And like, I went on PubMed and I started like pulling up. I was like, look, anything under 40%, like they're saying like you should rehab and not do surgery. Well, he's like, I'm getting a second opinion. And he went to a doctor that specializes in surgery. I'm like, well, you went to a cutter. Of course the cutter's going to tell you that he's going to do surgery. Yeah. Like,
cutters do.
Yeah, no one's ever going to say, no, we don't want an extra $10,000. And that's the insane thing, that like our prices also aren't real. Of like, I had some medical bills from 2 years ago that they were like, this is $3,600. And I was like, no, I'm not going to pay that. And they were like, what could you pay? I was like, $1,400, maybe $1,200 ideally. She was like, I'll talk to my manager. 15 minutes later, she was like, if we do $1,500 right now over the phone on a credit card, like we'll just call it even. And I was like, why did you bill me $3,600 if you could call it even?
Because they wanted to try to get the $3,600.
Yeah. And that's the bizarre thing of like, what is it? I've seen some places that like with insurance, it's $150 for the visit. Without insurance, it's like $165. I'm like, so now I only save $15 and I have to like hassle my insurance. It's going to be like, why did you get this?
I know some people that use two different pharmacies. One pharmacy's got an insurance card, and the other pharmacy, they quote cash. And like they'll send the script to both and be like, well, what's it going to be here? What's going to be here? I guess I'm going cash.
Yeah, because GoodRx, the app, like you can literally just look it up and it's cheaper than my insurance for 3 different medications. And you're like, what am I paying the insurance company for? It feels like that Office Space moment where you're like, what exactly do you do here? And the insurance people, they're like, we're people. We handle the doctors for you.
Like, I deal with the goddamn doctors.
I'm like, but couldn't I just deal with the doctors? Yeah. Couldn't I just ask what the prices are? Because that's also the bizarre thing. It's like when I hurt my knee, I was like, it's not bone, it's soft tendon. Like I know it's soft, like it's soft tissue damage. They're like, we still need to do an x-ray. I was like, I guarantee you it's going to come up with nothing. And they're like, we still have to do it. And I was like, it's going to come up with nothing. And then 10 minutes later, they're like, oh yeah, that was nothing. I was like, yeah, you're not going to see what's wrong with soft tissue damage. Yeah. In an x-ray. They're like, well, we just have to, it's protocol. And I was like, the doctor, when he came in and felt, he was like, oh yeah, you didn't need an x-ray. And I'm like, the nurse just made me get one.
Couldn't you be here 10 minutes ago?
Yeah. So it's just like a weird like service that like it's the thing of like so many people like insurance is such a hassle. Some companies won't even deal with them. And you're like, what exactly is the point of it at sometimes? Where you're just like, why don't we just know the real cost of things?
There's a really good book, and I'm trying to find it. I own it. I need to find it. It's about it really kind of revolves around, I think, the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic Statistics Manual for like psychiatry and diagnosing mental disorders. But it talks about like the differences, I think, between the fourth and the fifth edition. But it's really talks extensively about the overprescription of drugs in the United States and how it's trending. It's kind of an older book too, but it specifically, it focuses heavily on like antidepressants and ADHD drugs, and it kind of goes in and like talks about like, pretty sure it's ADHD that it focuses on. Like back in the 80s, like ADHD like basically didn't exist, right?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, it talks about when the DSM-5 came out, like there was just like this explosion of diagnoses, and now like your regular like family doctor is just prescribing these ADHD drugs and antidepressants and stuff without actually going through any kind of testing, questioning, or analytics whatsoever. They're just slinging them right like candy. And then psychiatrists specifically, dude, they're just drug peddlers. That's all they do.
Oh yeah.
Like I take an antidepressant, and I've never had any kind of real conversation with the psychiatrist I talked to. I booked with him. I told him, I said, I want to get on an antidepressant. And that was about the extent of the call. I had to go and pay him $75 every few months so he'll represcribe it, right? Yeah. Even though he's going to represcribe it to me anyway. And like, there's never been any extensive conversation. He's just like, okay, pencil whip, here you go.
Here's your bill.
That's the weird thing of like, the reason I like telehealth in Texas is they can't prescribe controlled substances. Because my experience when I was like high school, I think it was after high school, I was prescribed lithium, which was very intense and made me just feel flat. Like I just didn't care about stuff. And
right.
They were like, well, like, I was like, yeah, just like, I just feel flat and like, it's hard to focus on anything. It's just like, everything just feels fuzzy. They were like, well, we'll give you Ritalin. Then I was like, the Ritalin makes me so edgy and anxious. They were like, well, we'll give you Xanax. And I never got blood testing for the year that I did that. And I was like, it just felt so strange to be like, you need these things. And later when I told another doctor that, they're like, they should have been blood testing you like every 90 days. Like that's intense to like, they didn't even know what your blood levels were for any of that stuff. Like, they're like, well, like it was weird because I had to be like, I want less of this. Like, I don't like this level. And they were like, that's going to be kind of unsafe. Maybe you should slowly like, I was like, it's just a weird thing when you're like, and that's the main thing is because it's all it is you explaining it and stuff. They don't do like any real thorough testing. Not that you can test for those things, but there isn't like, kind of like you were talking with the pain, there's no root cause analysis of it. Cause like a lot of this stuff, like I think now people are doing the breakthroughs with it with like psychedelic treatment and stuff like ketamine therapy and mushroom stuff, like trying to like get through the root cause of things. Microdosing. Yeah. And that's the main thing is they said that's super effective and everything.
There's some actually preliminary research that suggests that microdosing psilocybin allegedly can quote unquote cure uncurable depression.
Yeah, I've heard it. One of my friends, she was talking about it. It helped a whole lot and everything.
But when you have a pharmaceutical industry that is built on research and development and making billions of dollars on anything and everything they can, whether it's researched well enough or not, like that's never going to hit the mainstream because anybody can grow fucking mushrooms.
Yeah, if you can't patent it and you can't sell it,
yeah,
because that's the main thing.
It's going to be fought tooth and nail.
Yep.
Even like the most expensive like ketamine therapy here in Austin's like $2,400, and you think that seems like a lot up front, but then most medications will run you that in a year, easy.
Essentially,
I can't remember who he was, but I was like reading about some doctor that was doing like PTSD therapy on a bunch of Army vets, and he's like, it's mostly we just need to bring the information down. Like a lot of them have head trauma, a lot of them, have all this. Is like, we bring down the inflammation, and all of a sudden everything's flowing a little better. And it's well, $20 pill, and nobody can make money on it, so like the research just dies.
Right.
Yeah. Because they're like, wait, you're telling us that we're only going to make $20 a month off this, or we could charge thousands of dollars. And like you said, those like when you're on maintenance medications, those calls literally are anywhere from Sesame and some other places. It's like $35 to $90. And the calls are literally 3 minutes. You're like, I'm doing pretty well. Can you just sign this thing? And they're just like, and sometimes I had doctors that like, even when I stopped seeing them, you could just request refills through CVS. And some doctors would literally, one did it for almost 9 months without ever verifying anything. They're just like, and then the other ones are like, oh, we need to see you. And I'm like, do you? Like, this is like I know it's good.
Or do you want my $90?
Yeah, because that's always the best when they're like, well, we need to see you every 6 weeks. I'm like, nope, that's not a thing. Let's do 3 months. That's what my insurance says. They're like, but that's not the same thing. Like, you think if you can double your visits and stuff, like that's the weird thing. When you think of like a for-profit healthcare industry, it is like multiple visits are what makes money.
Dude, that's just, it pisses me off. Yeah, that I have to go to my doctor to get a freaking routine prescription refilled, something that's going to be refilled no matter what, that has no particular long-term side effects. Like, it pisses me off so much that they make me come back, pay them just so that they can rewrite, so that they will rewrite my prescription. It's like, it's not that big of a deal.
Then at the end of the year, when it's cold and everybody's actually getting sick, and you're going there for a real reason, they're like, "Oh, by the way, you're over your limit. Like, you're gonna have to pay for this one full."
Yeah, right.
And that's the crazy part. Is just like there's no real upfront pricing. Like, it would be nice to just have a price list to be like, if they tell you you need to do an X-ray, to be like, no, I'm not paying several $100s.
Yeah,
my last doctor. So I had a physical coming up anyway, already planned, because I was working on the Antarctic supply contract, where to go to Antarctica, I had to have physical, a whole like pretty intense physical qualification process. So I already had a physical planned, right, which included like all the stuff for dudes over 40, whatever. My regular doctor, who had nothing to do with that physical qualification process, refused to serve me unless I paid her to do a physical. And I was like, I already have a physical coming. I don't need you to do that. I need you to pay attention to the reason that I'm coming here today. She absolutely refused. And so I'm like, well, then I'm just going somewhere else. Like,
but we need it for our files. Like,
we need it for our files.
You can get faxed over.
Yeah. It was the most like absurd thing that I've ever heard in my life. And I was like, no, you just want more money from me. Like, I don't need to have multiple physicals.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I like concierge medicine. For a while I did it, even though I had insurance, because it was just easier of like, pay $85 a month and like they'll just see you whenever, or like, and like if you're with them for like 6 months, then you get like a physical of blood tests, or like cheap. They have the discount card, so like your medication's cheaper. And like so many of these places, like it's way cheaper than any other doctor route would be to just pay a monthly fee.
Don't ever go to the fucking emergency room unless you're like actually dying. I went to the emergency room because I randomly had a kidney stone, didn't know what was going on. I was there for maybe 3 hours, and then like, I guess it passed and everything was good. I've been good since, so must have been $20,000, man, is what they charged my insurance company. $20,000.
It's what I keep thinking every time we do one of these like big strongman shows. And like, I was at OSG this year, I had the block like 3/4 of the way locked out, and then I lost it, and it fell like towards me. And I'm like, the whole time it's falling, I'm like, this is going to be an expensive ER
visit. Dude. They do need to have like a doctor's office just sponsor the events, just a pharmaceutical company be like, hey, this is the Apple Stone press overhead sponsored by Pfizer.
No, but Pfizer will be like, we'll sponsor you if everybody gets all the boosters.
Yeah.
$20 a pop.
All of a sudden the Atlas stones are pill shaped and you
Yeah, right.
That would be the best. Instead of sandbags, they're just these really tight, like oblong objects that you have to load.
You know, I'm not against having like an odd object here or there, or like a competition where they're like, hey, just show up strong. Like, you have no idea. Like, we have no idea. You have no idea. We'll figure it out before we get there.
I think more and more people are kind of starting to lean towards that, having the just show up strong, don't know what the events are, very old school strongman, and just like get it done. It's like I'm hearing people want, like, the demand for that is growing.
See,
like Tommy's nature walk.
Somebody like me, like I'm making implements or I'm learning things for the first time for the show, and like then you got other guys that been doing this forever, and they're like, oh, let me dust this back off, and I haven't done this in 2 years, and I'm like, I'll figure it out. Like the yoke press at OSG, like we were all just winging it, and there was a couple of guys there like that had the actual like anchor yoke at their gym, and they were like amazingly proficient at it, and they're like, like I don't want to say that's an unfair advantage, but like that is like really in your favor, that because so many guys are struggling with that.
We talked about this with Tommy. It's always been a huge pet peeve of mine. And not saying this happened at OSG, but I mean, if anybody had the specific, I don't know, it sucks that they have, like, people have the means to get that, but it's always been a huge pet peeve of mine when a promoter has like a pretty kind of specialized piece of equipment, and they allow like whoever lives close enough to them can come and train on it.
Yeah.
But everybody else is like SOL. And I argued with like one promoter about this one time, and he's like, I invited everybody. I'm like, dude, everybody lives on the other side of the fucking country. Like, that's not justification to let like two people train on it, on this specialized piece of equipment, and give them like a huge advantage. Like, I wish promoters would put that stuff under lock and key and not pull it out until the day of the competition.
I think John and I talked about this once at USS Nationals last year. They had that worm sandbag drag, and it was basically like basically you paid to win. Like, it was no different than like charging somebody like, oh, hey, $50 and you can deadlift in a suit. Like, dragging that thing would be so different than anything else you can imagine. So if you have one or you're willing to spend the money, like, you're going to have just a phenomenal advantage.
And the thing
that's what I hate about Strongman. Sorry, go ahead, John.
I mean, things like that literally should be a mystery event. Like, they should, I think there should still be a category, be like, there will be a press event. Here's the ballpark of the weights, like 300 to 330 is what you're looking at. But something like that, I don't know why they reveal some of these odd things and stuff ahead of time.
Like Tommy said last week, why do you need to know the weights? Like, you're going to be as strong as you're going to be. If it's a press multiple, whatever, if we're going to press, clean and press the log for reps, what's it matter? Like, you can either do it or you can't. Like, I get a little for like the conditioning of it, but like, still, like,
be strong and be conditioned.
I think,
like, I mean, most promoters are going to sit there and shoot for like a weight where they think the top guy is going to get 10. So you train for whatever weight, use your 10. And if it's less than that, it's less than that,
It's less than that. Yeah. I mean, I kind of felt the same way when we had Lynn on, and he kind of teased potentially not allowing the thruster on the yoke. And I'm like, to me, I think a lot of people would be like, well, fuck, that's the way I've been training it. Like, if you take that away from me, but I'm like, I'm like, if he takes it away, then I guess everybody's going to have to do a push press. Like, either you can do it or you can't. Be fucking strong.
And I see both sides. Like, I'm so new to the sport that I hyper analyze everything, and I want to know exactly what the weight is. I want to demo it as many times as I can. I want to know specs of the block, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, like, I built a block for this OSG and I had no problem pressing mine. I missed the block of the show. Like, it was it's a different block, then it is what it is.
Dimensions of a block can make a big difference, but yeah, it is what it is. And like, yeah, I don't know, man. It would be nice if we could get to a point at least that, strongman. I started calling strongman rich man at one point in time because back when I used to compete in strongman corp specifically, they were changing equipment manufacturers every year for nationals and all the plat pluses, and they're introducing new, like the Stone of Steel was introduced, the rickshaw was introduced. There was, some other stuff like, and I mean, even the differences in logs and stuff can be somewhat challenging, but yeah, it just felt like whoever had $1,000 or more to blow for every show had the advantage. And it's like you're not making any money off of this, man. Like, why are you putting athletes in a position where they feel like they have to blow a whole bunch of money to have an advantage to do well? Like,
and if you could train on the actual stuff, you're obviously going to have an advantage. Like OSG this year, that frame was way different than mine, and like it wrecked me. But then like the 3 fastest guys for the 105, we're talking to them, and they all train at the same gym. They're like, oh yeah, our frame is just as light as that. Like, it's this old piece of shit. Like, it's like that, and they're like, well, they blew it away.
Yeah. But I mean, if that was just like a matter of luck, like, great. But if Lynn per se was like handing out the exact dimensions, which I don't think he does, to somebody, right? That would be, I'd have a problem with that. But I don't think Lynn does. He shows the equipment, and I don't think he's favoring anybody by giving him like the dimensions and drawings or anything of the equipment. So I think in that regard, like, everybody was sort of up against the same odds, which is great. But yeah, I mean, Clash, 1 year, there's guys that train with Johnny. Like, it was a lot of Johnny's equipment, and it's like, I wish that stuff would get locked away and not let anybody train on it, so that it's a fair field for everybody. And
true, because USS Nationals was big for that, of like, because some people had the exact lever thing, they gave out the measurements, so some people built their lever thing, and that was a whole thing. Also, it's like, after a while, it's like things like that should just be a mystery and stuff, because it's like, I think that would make it more fun and everything, because I think some of it does, like, it's nice to have versatility and everything, but like, even that yoke press, some people train on that exact same thing, or I saw some people, their rack height was so much that they could just get under it and just,
that was smart. I should have thought about that, like, just squatted, just like
some people, they were like, this is my rack position, and I'm like,
dude, there was people that started over their head, man.
So I played with it after weigh-ins. I went back and did a weight refeed and everything, and then I came back and I loaded it all the way up, and like, I tried it high, and I ended up moving it. It was like gut height. Like, I had to be in a full squat to get underneath mine and press it up, and it didn't have the swing anymore.
Sure, and like, that's smart. Actually,
if you watch my video, like, mine, I ran underneath it. I pressed it straight up. Like, there was not an ounce of wasted energy in there. And like, spending that, hour the night before was the best thing I could have did. Now I should have done it with the block too, but
you don't want to exhaust yourself the night before show either.
Well, yeah. Wait, I thought I'd have a chance to play with it in the back, but in the back they had a Mouser block.
Sure, yeah, the equipment was a little different in the back.
Yeah, and like, I got used to the Mouser block, and then when you got back out to the front, the other block was wider, and your hand position was different, and I couldn't get
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I don't know if it was nerves. A lot of people blame the training yoke as being like, I don't think it was significantly different. It was different, but was it significantly different? I don't know. Like, I smoked comp weight in the back, like, no problem, and then they lowered it, 15 or 20 pounds, whatever it was, and then it was different. But I think a little bit of nerves.
It was very different, and it was like, I spent so much time on it, before. I didn't get in that line. I just, I pressed, a couple overhead weights, and I'm like, I'm just going to ignore it. Like, everybody, like that one that's different. Like I'm not even gonna.
So you actually practiced on the yoke that was out on the floor.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I spent a significant time on that.
Nice. That's smart.
Because some people did the day before. Because it is like,
Yeah.
I think the nerves did get people, because that thing of like having the back be significantly easier with more weight, or like easier enough that like so many people, they're like, I hit comp weight like easily out back, and then like this felt harder.
I
I'm
did
like,
it.
that'll
Yeah,
get
and I
you
think for
mentally though.
Me, I mean, like I locked it out on the floor too, but my feet were not like something was off center, right? And it swung so hard on me that, yeah. So I don't know that it made a difference. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is a lot of people said that it was that big dip, you know, that they were different. Maybe they were, but was it really the yoke that really made the difference, or was it the nerves and the
that's what I mean. That it's just purely a mental thing, like because that'll get you.
I need more experience. Like I have a plan going in of exactly what I'm going to do, and then when I get on the floor, for some reason I change it every time.
Yeah, we talk with Andrew. Check out our next episode of Andrew Clayton. He talks about that a lot. I mean, it's huge. I mean, it's really huge, right? Having that plan and then just executing it the day of, because that is like every time that I've screwed up, and I mean, OSG was, you know, whatever, it is what it is. But even in shows that I was really ready for, the times that I screwed up, changed the smallest things, right? And it ended up being like a huge fuck up for me. My last time at Clash, in fact, all I had to do, so I was in second place going into our last event in the qualims. All I had to do was finish the carry medley. Nothing heavy, nothing hard. Totally should have been easy. I had been training everything without gloves. The barrel that we had to, I'd been training the barrel to the shoulder. And for whatever reason, it was just different enough that I was unable to shoulder it because of the grip. I put on gloves and found out that I could get enough grip on the side of it. And I went with that, and I got to the keg, and it was a Mauser keg, or a Bartos keg, which I'd never done, but I've always grabbed kegs. Like I just grip and rip and just go. My gloves slipped, and the thing fucking rolled away from me. Panic, right? I mean, everything went wrong. Because I changed that one little thing. He seems like, what are gloves? Shouldn't have done it.
That's every practice run for going up to OSG for that deadlift medley. First floor, no straps, not strapping in, just running first floor. Did the first three just fine. For some reason, I strapped in 4, and like that was the difference between. I think I finished like 10th, and I should have been like, I think like 3rd or 4th. Like, I mean, you're like those points, like that's the difference between me ending 4th and me 3rd. You know, like that's
dude. I mean, and it is like that's like I think it's I mean, consistency from kind of that standpoint, and I think that is consistency, right? Having your plan and executing it is consistency, and doing that consistently every show and getting accustomed to just doing what you've planned is so important. And I don't think it just holds in strongman. I'm going to use like a totally wild out there comparison, like blackjack, dude. If you're gonna split aces, always split aces, right? If you're gonna double down on, you know, on 11, you always do it, right? Sometimes you lose, but when you're consistent, you win more and more and more.
I mean, it's like that for most, but like sometimes when you get out there and you touch the actual equipment, like you change your mind real fast. Like that one with the backpack, that the Go Ruck medley. I was going to just all out yank and like just, you know, back drag like I could not believe. And then we strapped that bag on and I couldn't stand up from the chair. I'm like, if I fall over, like this is over. Like I'm going to sit here and hurdle for the next 5 minutes. Like, so like you end up going a little more conservative because you're like, I don't want to be that person that's just sitting there.
Right.
Seeing those people, I felt so bad for them who fell back, and like some of the women did that, and it's just Ninja Turtle mode, and you're like,
it was insane. Like I was not expecting, like, because you know they had to sit in the chair and they put the bags on, and they're like, just stand up. And what do you mean, just stand up?
Just stand
up. Like I got an extra like half of my weight on my back right now, and just stand up.
That's funny, man.
But I think the nice thing is that Darren did hint that Andrew Clayton's coming back, Uncle Nick's coming back. So
Yeah.
but Andrew Clayton's thing of like, you'll watch him, he always wears the same thing, like prepares, like everything's down to the thing of like different pairs of socks for each thing, like different this, like
he's super kind of, I mean, it's a bit superstitious, right? Mm-hmm. It's ritualistic, but it's consistent, right? It's like there's so many things that play into it. I mean, and you can't, how do you argue with Andrew Clayton, man? Right?
You can't argue with that.
Yeah. His focus and his drive is just absolutely insane.
Because it is just like insane willpower. And it is, and I think so there is that like merit, I think, of like honing it down. Because what he was saying is that's what you want to do, is you want to get to the point where you won't panic because it's all just muscle memory. Of he was like, even then,
that's where I am now.
You have the plan and you execute.
I feel just like I'm just a ball of nerves walking up to that platform. It doesn't matter what it is.
That's good though. I'll tell you what, man. The one time, so I've been competing for 15 years, and I have like crazy the same level of nerves every single competition, every event. It's the same thing as I did my first time. The one time that I didn't have nerves, everything went wrong. Like to me, nerves are a good sign that you're focused and your head is in the game, right? The moment you stop having nerves, like your head is in the wrong place.
Yeah. I'm nervous all the way until that whistle blows. And then I couldn't tell you there's another person in the room.
Yeah, right.
Like I have to actively look for the judge. Like where is my downfall? Like,
no, dude, the nerves are good, man. Nerves are in my opinion, nerves are the best sign that your head is in the right place. Nerves are the best sign that you're mentally preparing yourself, right? You're walking yourself through, like if you did build that plan, like you're walking yourself, because nothing gives me like more, nothing kicks my heart rate up more than walking through the events, like leading up to a show. Like I take a week off and I'll think those events over and over and over and over, and my heart will just like pound because I'm just so like nervous and excited. And then the morning of the competition, like, dude, if you haven't shit 3 times before, like the first event, like your head's not in the right place.
So last year OSG, like it's my 4th show. I just done all the research. I start like looking into these people that I'm competing against, and like these are some monsters. Like I'm like, what did I sign up for? Like, is this really going to go the way I think it's going to go? And like, we're getting ready for Viking press, and like, I had been training it at what I thought was comp weight. You know, I'm knocking out like 16, 17 reps consistently, and then I'm like watching all of these people like 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, and like I'm just like I'm losing everything. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like this, I'm going to go out here and I'm like, this, something is not what I expected it to be. And so I walk up to the platform, I get ready and look, check in with the judge, and he's got, I think it was Lynn's daughter sitting next to him with the clipboard, and she looks at it and she goes, Burley, that's a hell of a strongman last name. And I just lost it. Like I broke up laughing, and he's like, "You ready?" I'm like, "No, I'm not ready." Like I need like 30 seconds to compose myself, and like that was exactly what I needed to like get focused, and it was just the best thing.
That's awesome, man.
That is good, and I think kind of to tie everything together, it's interesting when you said like the nerves are a good sign. I think a lot of those things, like you're saying earlier, like knee pain, nerves, like anxiety and stuff, sometimes these things actually are just our bodies telling us that get ready for something or change something. So there is that nice thing of like, you think with an injury of like, if your knee hurts and has these things, maybe you need to start doing something different. Of like, I've been trying to work much more on like my mobility, because I didn't realize like it's actually certain movements, my adductor just feels like it's going to tear my knee off. Like, so certain things, it's like this level of tightness that you're like trying to get better of like mobility. So it is like some of these things are natural. Like kind of when people say like get rid of pain or eliminating pain was the goal of the early 2000s, you're like, that's not realistic. Like life is pain. Like these things of like,
Strongman is pain. To quote Big Z.
And learning that I can't go into the gym and like just immediately start deadlifting, that was hard. Like I need to spend a half an hour warming up. Like I should walk.
Because you're old. 37. You got 8 years to be old, man.
8 years to be old. 45 is the thing.
I won my nationals title at 38. So you're not old yet.
Yeah. Well, we got plenty of time.
You're only as old as you think you are. I mean, obviously, well, there's obviously a point like with physiology and age and stuff that you can't fight that. But I think, I mean, looking at people like Mark Felix is a prime example. Ode Haugen is another great example. Yeah. Man, you can fight it for a long time. You can be great into your 60s. Well,
and you know, titles like America's Strongest Man, that knocks a few years off. Like that makes you feel a little better.
That's true.
Guys, we're at an hour and 40 minutes.
Oh.
I was trying to keep these at an hour recently because I was getting up at 4:30 in the morning, but I don't need to do that anymore. So I let this one go a long time. And I'm saying that because I kind of felt bad that we cut off our last couple of guests early, but now that we're back to a point, well, I'm back to a point where it doesn't matter much, but still hour and 40 minutes. Great having you on, Brandon. Any final words for your fans, our fans?
I don't know if I have any fans.
Of course you have fans.
You do.
We all have fans.
True.
No, I mean, I don't know. We're gonna train hard and see what I can do this year. That's all I can do.
Okay, man. Well, we're rooting for you. I have no doubt you're going to make the podium this year at OSG. If you do America's Strongest Man again, I mean, you're right there.
I haven't been invited to America's Strongest Man, but I strongly hinted to James that if he does invite me, I'm just going to show up anyways. So
there you go. Do it.
Just show up strong.
Do it. Just show up strong. That's right.
Like I'll just put somebody out of the way and take their spot. Like
they can make an extra spot for you.
Yeah,
it's true. What are they going to do if you show up fully ready and prepared? You're like, I traveled all the way here.
Show up for weigh-ins and be like, I'm competing.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, somebody will tell me where weigh-ins is. So like, I'll be there.
You'll be there.
That's true. If they let people who miss weight compete up a class, it's like they should allow you to just show up.
Yeah.
At that point,
I think that needs to stop. I want to end on that note. Like, if you miss weight at a high level show, like, hey, if it's like a backyard local show, low level amateur, and you miss your weight, sure, let them go up a weight class and compete. But if you miss a weigh-in at like America's, hell, even nationals, OSG, any kind of world level competition, you shouldn't get to belt go up. You're done. Yeah, you don't deserve to be there. Like, and I'm not trying to be a dick, like, but that's the level that you're at. If you can't make weight, you're not ready.
Yeah, that means you did something wrong. You are not prepared.
You're not ready to be there, because making weight, like going back, I mean, my perspective is, yeah, it sucks and it's uncomfortable, but it's the easiest thing that you're going to do that weekend.
Yeah.
It is hands down the easiest thing you're going to do that weekend is to make weight. If you can't make weight, you don't belong at that show.
Yeah,
it's true. And it is one of those things that some people may disagree, but like for men, I think it's very hard for lower weight classes to be a career class. You're just going to get bigger.
This is world's strongest opinions.
You have to do it. Yeah.
Everybody can disagree.
Yeah.
I have no power to change the rules. It's
true. But it is one of those things that like after a while, you're just like, some people are like, it can be a career class. I'm like, no, you're going to keep getting stronger and putting on size. There is no such thing like as a career, like lightweight.
If you're being a career at 90s, that means you didn't fill it out at the beginning of your career. That's all that means. And at the end of the career, you probably are hanging them up because you're like, yeah, this cut sucks.
Yeah, because that's the main thing is some of the people who like want to be career U80 guys and stuff. Like it was really nice to see like Ben Donnan finally accepted that he's a U90 and everything. It's like,
I think
you're a
it's
U90.
He's a U105.
Yeah, because the best is when he was still calling himself a U90, and what is it, like Ultimate Strongman showed his thing, and he like barely made weight as a U90, and he was still saying he was a U80. I was like, that's tough. If you've been walking around in like the hundreds and stuff, but
that's another 20 pounds. Like that.
Yeah. And that's kind of like what I think for women, it is easier for a career class to be kind of a thing just because you do have a smaller frame. But like certain men of like a certain height, you're just going to keep getting bigger. Like there's no way you can stay 176 pounds or near
if
there.
You walk around the backstage of OSG, like just based on height, you can be like, he's a 105, he's a 90, he's an 80.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. Unless you have this discipline of like, Andrew Clayton just looks huge compared to everyone else. You're like, that's insane that he's a U105.
Like, I don't think Andrew's. We'll ask Andrew when he's on. I would be surprised if Andrew's not under. If he is under 265, 270 right now, I'd be curious.
I think Tim was over 270 and he made 105 this year.
Who?
Tim. Oh, I'm going to butcher his last name. Yeah, he made top 10.
I mean, being over 270 this year and still making weight is not the same as like I've known Justin Lloyd's done some big ass water cuts. I know.
Yeah.
For shows like that's nuts to me.
Yeah.
Like that's insane. What is it?
I don't want to make water cuts. I want Justin to get me down to a good weight, and I want to like nice, easy cuts. Like my wife didn't travel with me to OSG this year. She says it was to keep my daughter in school, but I think she just didn't want to be around me being a moody bitch. Like
Tim Makowski?
There.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's the main thing of like some of those guys. It is crazy. Emmanuel Pascari has a nice like his weight cuts are the best. Just like watching him just like sit at the weight for like the whole time, maybe be a few pounds over.
But also when you're like really lean, like Emmanuel, like he could probably put on mass and cut very easily. The leaner muscle mass loses water much easier than like higher body fat percentages.
And the worst part is I wanted to hate him, but he was such a good dude.
He's a nut dude. Emmanuel is a great human being. I was fortunate to sit like right behind him all of day one with, him and his wife, my girlfriend, and they're such great people, man.
I mean, going in there being the favorite to win and like, you're like, oh, I want to go in there and hate him, but he was a good dude.
You can't hate Emmanuel, man. He's a great human being. He's super humble. I mean, clearly he gets excited when he does well, like anybody else does, man. Yeah. I mean, that dude, his post event win. I mean, when he wins, like he goes ape shit, and I love it. But such a down to earth, humble human being. He's definitely one of the good ones.
Because he is. And two, he's so kind of like, the nice thing is he said like with his deadlift where he like blacked out, he's like, the last thing I heard, John, was you screaming your lungs out to be like, lock it out, just keep going. I was like, and it was nice like seeing him after, like being able to get to that like height of like his pressing thing and then still like say hello to people and stuff and like be so friendly. Like that was the crazy thing, to watch that dynamic of being able to like fully go into that like fight mode and then be able to come out of it and be like, yeah, that was pretty decent, like tried my best. Like that last because his deadlift fight, watching him just hold 800 pounds for what felt like an eternity, you're like, that's insane.
Anytime you have 800 pounds, this is an eternity.
Yeah. That's crazy. But yeah, no, he was so great. We need to have him back on at some point.
Yeah. But hey, I was trying to say goodbye 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
This was a good one. Thank you so much.
It was great, man. Thank you so much for coming on, Brandon. Wish you all the best this year. We will certainly be following along and cheering you every step of the way.
Appreciate it.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and follow us on Instagram for updates. We'll catch you next time on World's Strongest Opinions.